Welcome to Just a Thought, a podcast for misfits who've turned self-reflection into a lifestyle. Around here, we get into the messy stuff, mental health, connection, and the daily chaos of being a human. It's kind of like therapy, but with some sarcasm and fewer co-pays. I'm your host, Purple Energy, and every week we'll obsess over one subject we know best, ourselves. Because if you're going to spiral, why not make it about yourself? This is Just a Thought. Today's episode, we're going to take a journey into unwavering consistency. I am all about my thoughts. I love self-reflection. I feel like that is a crash course we should have taken on life because it's the one thing we don't want to do. For some odd reason, we are scared to sit down with our thoughts and our emotions. The funny thing is, in order to get to the best version of yourself, you have to sit down with yourself. Thoughts are not to be scary or something to run away from. Thoughts are there for you to notice, and sometimes thoughts are there because you're bored. Thoughts are there because you are afraid. And other times, there's just random thoughts in your mind and you're thinking to yourself, why the heck am I thinking that? Your thoughts sometimes can just be a bad TV episode or ever get to a point when you're scrolling and your feed has been hijacked because you have multiple conversations and you're like, what the hell happened to my feed? Like, why am I getting all these random things? That is our thoughts. It's like you're scrolling and you having these random episodes and you wondering, who the hell said that you can come here? I don't like this new feed. Go back to the old version. Today I was going to write a post on Substack in the notes, which I absolutely enjoy notes. Sidebar, it's just random facts that you're sharing with people of inspiration and motivation, or just a thought that you have for the day, or something that you want people to take interest in that you took interest in. As I began to lay out what I was going to say in my notes, I realized this actually needs to be documented. Because one thing about notes is anybody can copy and paste notes, so it's not actually copywritten. It's just random thoughts or things that people are sharing, whether it's your information or quotes, so it's not copywritten. When I read back my note, I realized, hold on, I might need to turn this into an article because I don't want this to not have my name on it. That's just me. I love my thoughts. It is my talent, so therefore it is my bread and butter. And I have to start thinking like that now, which is really weird for me because I love just giving out random information to people. But, we are in an age where your thoughts, your words can be monetized. The days of counseling people can be monetized, and it's no longer free unless you're doing it for like church services and you just have a natural joy. But why not? You spend all this time counseling people. More than 20 minutes of your day has been spent to counseling someone and you didn't get anything out of it. Yes, the joy of helping another is always rewarding enough, but then you come to a point in your life where it's like, hold on, I'm struggling financially. I'm going through things. I have bills to pay. I have responsibilities. And why not take your talent and turn that into an investment that can help some of your livelihood? It's nothing wrong with that. And so it led me to create this episode today. And it might be a ramble. I'm just not sure yet. I allow myself the freedom to just be because guess what? This is my podcast and I love that for myself, although it has been an obstacle. Today is one of those days where it was an obstacle and I started to feel pissed off and frustrated because I download this app to allow me to pause while I'm recording because the QuickTime on the Apple device does not have a freaking pause button, right? And also too, that may not be an issue for some people, but for me, it really is because recording can be hard on my vocal cords. I need to be able to pause and think about what I'm going to say. And I understand that it can be edited later, but I'm trying to decrease my editing because this is new for me. The journey of editing can be hours. Today, I started at 9 o'clock. It's 1 o'clock. And it's still not done. This is the life of a beginner. I'm in my season of just figuring out this process. Today, I wrote out for my Substack, but I now turned into an article. It says, I have to get out of saying that I'm impatient. I always think that I'm being impatient when things is not moving at a quick pace. And I don't mean, in 10 seconds. I've been doing something for 2 weeks, a month. I mean, extenuation of time. I get pissed off and frustrated because I am ready to see the results of this thing and I need it now. I don't want to wait till later. I don't want to be the bigger person to be like, oh, well, sometimes it's okay. No, I need life to start moving in a way that is productive for me, that I feel good, and it reassure me that the journey that I'm on is right and it doesn't feel like a constant battlefield. You ever think about that? You're starting a new career or you're on the path of parenthood. You're on the path of being married, whatever that thing is. And it is so much opposition. And you want to be consistent and you want to continue to show up in this space and you want to give all that you have. And it feels like you're doing all the things. And your mind goes, but wait a minute, I haven't been rewarded. Does that happen to anyone? Because that's my mind. The moment that I'm not being rewarded, my mind is like, hold the phone. What the hell are you doing? We might need to revamp this thing. Something isn't working because if it was working, we should see the reward. We should see some kind of result, something that is tangible. Unfortunately, sometimes that is true and sometimes it is not. You do see a reward, it's just not tangible. And I, for one, like tangible rewards. Don't get me wrong, it is nothing wrong with an intangible reward like consistency, discipline, resilience, nothing wrong with those things. But as I told you guys before, I am analytical and that is not anything. Analytically wise, I can't factor that. I can't measure it out. And when I can't measure out something, it drives me insane because I have to be able to quantify something. I don't work in a delulu. The girls be saying, oh, let's be delulu. No, no, no. That does not work for me. I am optimistic. In order to be optimistic, you have to be able to see the reality as it is. And then you say, I understand that reality is this, but I am choosing this mind frame. A friend of mine, she hates it. She always tells me, you are so optimistic, it's sickening. It drives me insane. Get away from me, okay? Life is not like that. She's very pessimistic. And I'm like, you always see it empty. There's always something there. You just have to look. And sometimes that something there is the intangible. And that's the part of life that gets extremely frustrating because you don't realize that you want a tangible item. It could be great that you are expanding in love. It could be great that you are learning this new thing of analyzing, whether that is marketing, whether that is being an entrepreneur and starting a business. It is great that you are building the momentum in those things because you actually need the non-tangible, the things that people cannot see, but that actually allows you to be this wonderful being of doing this thing that you're doing. But as I said, there's these moments in life where you realize you've been on this road for so long and it's like, why haven't I seen the tangible thing? And that was me when I was going through depression. It was the most difficult time for me because number one, how the hell did we get here? How do we get out of this? Swiftly, quickly. I don't like longevity of time. That is actually my weakest point of being a human, honestly. And I'm okay with that because I can admit that flaw to myself that it is not my strongest suit. I don't like when people tell me have patience. My mentor in college used to say that to me all the time. She would be like, Purple, you have to have patience. You want something right now, and life is not going to move like that when you go out into the real world. So while you were in school, you have to start learning patience. I'm like, Miss P, I don't have time for that, okay? Patience needs to sit on the back burner because I know where I'm going and I know what I'm doing, and life just needs to move this way. She used to always laugh and she'd be like, Purple, when you get a little bit more mature, you're going to see that's not how life is. She wasn't the only one. My family tell me that all the time. My aunt is famous for telling me I need to have patience. She's always referring back to the Bible with patience is a virtue. Me and God got to sit down and have a talk because he understands that I don't have the patience, so he just needs to get into alignment. That's how my mind works. I had to adjust to patience. I really did. It is not easy. Patience is an intangible thing. It's something that you cannot measure. When people tell you to have patience, ever notice that no one tells you the how to have patience? Recent years, we're getting people with coming up with 5 steps of patience, and that's great. And everybody is reading these articles and feeling like, okay, I can have this thing called patience. But in our reality, the truth is patience is intangible. And that's what makes it difficult to obtain because it cannot be quantified For the average human being, that is frustration. And also, too, it sets off the alarm button of fight or flight because you know that you're doing this thing that is weird and uncomfortable, and yet you're making a conscious choice to do it. But then there's a part of you that's don't feel comfortable. Maybe I want to run from this thing because it doesn't make sense because I'm not seeing it hold any real value in my life. So you drop it and you keep going on with life as it is with having lack of patience, and therefore worry and all those other things begin to build up. I had to really sit down with myself and evaluate this thing called patience and figure out how did it sit in my body and what was I feeling when I heard the word patience. When I started to evaluate myself, that was the first time that I realized, wait a minute, I don't have to take what somebody is telling me. I don't have to take somebody else's 5+ step. I can actually take thought and sit down with the divine. It was like that eureka moment where a light bulb goes off in your mind and you're like, oh my gosh, I can do this. And that was the first time that I realized I can do patience. I can do it. It wasn't hard when I realized that if I just sat down and evaluated myself and to find out where in my body I was feeling unsettled, unease, unnerved, where did my heart start to beat the moment I heard it? If I can slow down myself in real time and ask myself the questions as I was having this allergic reaction, I felt a little bit more secure that I can understand and obtain it. And that logical part of my brain, which we all have, which is the right side of the brain, turned on and all the neurons was getting excited. My inner child is like, girl, you can do this. You got this. You've done harder shit than this. So you can do this. Easy. I began to go and chase patience, which I'm actually in the process of writing an article on patience. So you guys can check out my Substack. That should be coming soon. But either way, I discovered this thing and I was like, oh my gosh, it's really not hard, right? It was always because I had a sense of unwavering consistency. No matter what I did in life, I've always been consistent in showing up, even when it felt difficult and hard and uneasy in my body. That was never for me to quit. Those were always signs for me to keep going. I don't know. I'm probably like a little bit crazy, guys. But the moment something is hard, I'm like, no, I can do this. Think about it. Remember in school how you can rate your professors? People would literally go on there to see what professor was hard, what professor was easy, because you wanted your easy A. Everybody ignored the professor that was hard. But that professor who was hard was 9 times out of 10, one of your main courses in your curriculum that you had to take. There was no way around avoiding this person. I always loved the hard teachers. The hard teachers, in my opinion, I learned so much from. They pushed my ability to think, and I appreciate them for that. There's very rare where you have a teacher who sees your actual potential and pushes you beyond that level. And that's how you get to those big moments in your life. It's not about taking the shortcut somewhere, which is great because, again, sign me up, okay? Why work hard when you can work smart? But sometimes you have to know when that is actually a detriment to your growth. And so I remember one of my professors, Professor Nicolaitis, he was an economics teacher. He was from Russia and he was on beat. If he asked you a question, he would slow you down as you are responding and say, okay, so why did you think it was this? Can you tell me how did you get to that formula? And break down the formula down to, if there's 5 steps, he wants you to break down every 5 steps of how your mind was thinking, processing the information he gave you. People in the classroom was petrified to answer questions because he did this to a student. One day, my mind, I don't know if it was a thinking that day because I raised my hand like a crazy person. He had me come up. Although my answer was correct, he wanted to see how I got there through the way my thoughts were happening in my mind. Every time I would say, well, the answer is so-and-so, he would be like, no, go back and tell me how'd you got there. Tell me what was step 1 that you took. Tell me what was step 2. He was slowing me down in real time. And that was the first time that I realized that I can slow my thoughts down because this man taught me how to do that in the midst of 25 people. And I was so freaking scared. You hear me? I was sweating. I don't like public attention. And now all the attention is focused on me. I thought, honest to goodness, I was going to pass out in front of this class because I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I felt embarrassed. And I don't know why that was the first thing that I felt, but it was cringing in that moment because why should I be embarrassed for my answer? Why should I be embarrassed for the way that I was thinking? Why should I be embarrassed for actually having the bravery to raise my hand? But that was hindsight looking back. In that moment, all I know is I wanted to give him the answer as quickly as possible so I can go back to my seat. From that experience, the moment that I had depression, it was like my mind must have remembered that moment in life and it made me do that in my own life. All the self-help books I was reading a lot of psychology books. When I tell you I had no time to play. I had no time to play, okay? I mean, I was reading psychology books like my life depended on it. Seriously. I was reading the Bible like my life depended upon it. I was like, listen, God, if you are real in this moment, I need you to show me that you are real because I don't have time to be playing with you. I don't know what this is, and this thing need to get up off me. This is not me promoting to anybody of of any religion. No, I am a spiritual being, and what you do at home on your time is your business. I'm not here to judge you. I'm just telling you my experience. Either way, what I did was I had asked my pastor, where do I start in the Bible? Oh, you start at the beginning. I loved his advice and I thank him. But I didn't realize at the time I had a natural connection to my spirit. I go on this walk and my spirit was like, you're not going to start there. You're going to start at Psalms. I read Psalms like my life was on the line. I would sit down, I was slowing myself down in real time. Anytime I did not understand a verse, okay, God, what does this mean? How do I understand this? One day, my spirit was like, read self-development books. You already reading them. You keep asking me for an answer, but the answer is already there. You are already reading these books that use Bible verses. Now go back to the ones that you know and connect the missing piece that you have in your mind. That's what I did. I read the Bible, I read self-development books, and I read psychology books. And so that's how I started to get myself out of depression with the divine's help and the intellectual ability to sit down, comprehend, and dedicate time to understanding. That was me doing the work. And this was way before I actually had a therapist, which I call her my coach. The reason why I call my therapist my coach is because for me, God is my therapist. And again, I'm not saying that you should not go to therapy. I'm just telling you my experience. God is my therapist. My coach is someone who keeps me accountable to the things that I outline for myself. Now, I'm already good at being accountable to myself, but when it came to unearthing childhood trauma, that's where hear me. No, I did not. Okay. I would not keep myself accountable to that because it was me reintroducing myself back to the fire, and I was not about to do that. So that's why I see her as my coach and not my therapist. Either way, with that level of consistency, I started to see growth in myself. I started to see the intangible form into actual tangible things in my life, things that I needed. And patience was one of them. I had to learn how to sit in the uncomfortable of the periods and moments of where I had to wait. That a level of consistency showed up because I had to keep practicing patience. Every time when someone would cut me off, or if I would get frustrated with my thoughts, if I would get frustrated in the process, like, why am I not better yet? I had to be consistent of reminding myself, like, you're doing the work. Here are the tangible things that you can see. You see yourself journaling. I had to remind myself, you see yourself in prayer. You see yourself meditating. You see yourself doing yoga. You see yourself doing all these things. So stop being impatient with yourself and allow the consistency to do what it's going to do. It will provide at a later date. It's just not in this moment of now. But in this moment of now, you do have a reward. You have to acknowledge the intangible that the world doesn't see, that the people that surround you doesn't see, but that you see because your heart can feel the truth of this thing working. That's how I started to unearth little bit by little bit depression because I was consistent with doing the work. I was consistent with going to my coach. I was consistent with talking to God. I will honestly say I was consistent with those journals. You hear me? I was writing down things all the time and it helped a lot. It helped a lot with me understanding God and myself and that the two was the same and not different. But I had to be consistent in the writing. I had to be consistent with showing up to meditation. I had to be consistent in the devotion that I had set for myself in order to get to healing, right? It wasn't an overnight thing. And if I could have paid somebody to gone through the process for me, I would have because it was not, and I do mean not easy. So for anybody that's on the journey of healing from depression, kudos to you. Be patient with yourself. Be kind and loving towards yourself because that moment of you and that version of you, of who you are in this moment, it needs every part of your focus and your attention and your love and dedication and your consistency to show up for yourself. It needs you. I still continue to journal. At this point, it's second nature for me. I need to do it. I may not do it every day like I used to do it, but I do write in it once a week, if not more. Knowing me more than once a week because I love tapping into myself. I really do. It's a joy. When I tell you I love self-reflection, it is one of my biggest flex that I can give to myself. You know, it's one of the biggest ways that I show love to myself. I absolutely love that for myself. I'm going to give you guys the 4 steps that I came up with as I was writing this article. I need to see results. It drives me wild when I don't see results. It makes me feel like, well, maybe I'm doing something wrong because if I was doing something right, I should be seeing results. I always question, did I have a result and I just didn't see it? And then I have to start doing some soul searching to find out if the result is intangible or not. I wrote down Q1, of course, you won't see results. You're still working out the kinks. Q2, you will produce the consistency of not giving up. Q3, tangible results like a new follower, editing a video, or getting better at recording is what you'll see in Q3 because right now I'm in the process of learning how to be a podcaster. I am still learning how to even be a writer. I'm learning every day about writing and my level of what I can and cannot do and how I can play when I'm writing. So I'm learning all these different facets of myself when it comes to this creative part of my life. I started writing my book last year and I got done June of this year, 2025, like officially done. I hit my word count one day before my 1 year anniversary, which was very exciting in the month of January. I hit 25,000 words. For some people, that may not seem like a lot, but for me, that was like awesome. And so, yeah, I'm learning how to be in this new creative space. All of this is definitely unfamiliar territory. Q4 is me celebrating myself along the way because why not? I want to celebrate myself and honor myself and give myself self gratification by honoring myself and celebrating myself. So I love that part. I'm really getting used to that. I've actually implemented that a few years ago with writing down my small wins and celebrating myself along the way. When you're fast paced in just anything that you do in life, you kind of tend to overlook the things that you are doing in life, whether you feel as though it's right or wrong. You don't really give much celebration to the things that you are doing. It's not about it being right or wrong. It's about the fact that you're doing. It's in the doing. It's if the doing could be a reward, we will all, well, I would be rich. Listen, if the doing was the reward, I would be a millionaire, okay? Because I'm forever starting new projects and doing something new that I didn't think I had the ability to do. I'd be like, okay, let me just try this, you know? And I never start out with my end goal is going to be this. I just start with this. Well, let me see if I could do it. And I move from there. Q4 is all about celebrating yourself. Why not celebrate yourself in the fourth quarter? The fourth quarter is 3 months before the year is coming to an end and you have done so much. Celebrate yourself. Do something fun. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to buy yourself something, and you can do that too. But this is about honoring you in a non-tangible way. The more that you can get used to celebrating yourself without a tangible item, the easier it will become for you to see the intangible within inside of yourself and for you to celebrate those moments because it's not about somebody else recognizing you, giving you affirmation. It's about you affirming yourself. The more that you affirm yourself, the more your body comes back to a space of it's safe because it never needed anyone's permission. It just needed you to recognize that you are inside of you and that you will take care of yourself and all the parts that need you. Now, with social media, of course, you're looking for a particular audience and you want to show up for your audience, but you also want your audience to show up for you. The reality is you're going to be consistent and your audience is not. And that's okay. You have to know that some people will follow you because you became popular. Some people are following you right now, and those are the people that are going to follow you from now until you blow up. Some people are just going to follow you because you gave them 5 minutes of a soundbite that they enjoyed for that moment, and they'll never think about you again. There's all these different variations of people that will come across your page. But one thing is true. You must be consistent, no matter the inconsistency of your audience. Get out of the mindset of you're doing this for someone else. That's actually bad advice. And I don't know where that came from, but to be continued, I'll do an article on that. What I have experienced, everything that has been brought to life started with the individual wanting that thing to be of use to them. So it became popular to society. When you are consistent because you want to be consistent, because you want to be the best influencer, you're going to show up differently because you're not doing it for the claps and applausal of other people. You're doing it for the fulfillment of self. I never thought that me writing was going to bring me joy. I never thought that until I actually did it. It was a hobby that I used to help in my healing process. And look, I like it. So much so that I'm doing articles on Substack, and now I'm doing a podcast. And I always ask myself, how the hell did I get here with the podcast? I don't know. But I didn't know how I got to the book, but I got there. So I'm along this journey and proving it to myself because it brings me joy in this moment of my life. When it no longer serves me, I will cease to allow this thing to exist. Just that simple. That's life. But I have to be consistent, whether the audience is there or not. I do this because I enjoy how it makes me feel. I enjoy giving people encouragement. I enjoy giving resources and information to help people think a little bit different. Why? I'm different. I don't fit in any box that people have said exists in life. I've carved out my own path, and sometimes I'm unsure if it's the right path. But I know that when I walk somebody else's path, it just doesn't work for me. I allow myself the permission that I need to live in my autonomy. And that's what feels right for me. As you know, I like to end the episode with a question. What is one thing you want to see progress because you are being consistent this week? And I don't want you guys to just do it for 1 week. I want you to pick the one thing that you know that you need to be consistent in and have longevity with that thing, whatever that is. Until next time. That's it for this week's episode of Just a Thought. Thank you for thinking out loud with me. If something hit home, made you laugh, or made you feel just a little less alone, share it with a fellow misfit. And remember, your thoughts aren't always real, but they are worth exploring. Until next time, keep obsessing responsibly.